What's good, YouTube? This is BoxingWave, and we are back with another fight breakdown between Vergil Ortiz Jr. Against Mckinson. It's going to be happening this weekend on DAZN, 9 p.m. Eastern is when the card starts. I think the early preliminary fights is going to be earlier that evening. So I don't know what time, probably about 7 p.m. Eastern, they're probably going to start. And then the actual main card starts at 9 p.m. and the ring walkouts is around 11 p.m. Eastern. All right. I will not be doing live commentary for this fight this weekend, unfortunately, but I'll probably be doing a post-fight review of the fight later on that evening after the fight. Not too much late. Anyway, all right. This fight was supposed to happen earlier this year. It's supposed to happen, I believe, in March, and Ortiz had to pull out of the fight because he had some sort of liver injury. All right, so the fight was rescheduled, and Mckinson went on to have a fight, pretty much a tune-up fight, a replacement fight after that. All right, so look, let's talk about the two fighters. These guys are welterweights, undefeated, roughly around the same size. Vergil Ortiz Jr. is he's listed to around 5'10", 70-inch reach. He's 24 years old. You got Mckinson, who is a southpaw, right? He's a southpaw. He's 28 years old, around the same height at 5'9" and 70-inch reach as well. Both of these fighters are undefeated. Vergil Ortiz Jr., I believe he is 18-0, 18 wins, 18 losses, 18 knockouts. He's knocked out everybody he's been in the ring with. And then you have Mckinson, who's 22-0 with 2 knockouts. All right, so that's the big thing that everybody's talking about, the fact that Mckinson is not a KO artist at all. All right, so going into this fight, what do I feel? Well, I think the thing that stands out in this fight is that Mckinson is a southpaw, and Vergil Ortiz don't have much professional experience in fighting southpaws. I seen a little bit of his Valdez fight, which was about 7-8 fights ago. And that fight there with Valdez, who was a southpaw, who he stopped, you know, didn't really struggle in the fight. He kind of dominated the fight up until the point he stopped him. After that fight, he started to step up in a level of opposition. All right, he started fighting the Orozcos, the Brad Salomons of the world, and then he fought Mauricio Herrera, who was very experienced. He fought him, and then he started to go, step it up even more so, fighting guys like a Maurice Hooker, who's a former champion at 140, and he fought Velasquez in his very, very last fight, who we know to be, he's been a pretty respectable welterweight based on who he's faced. All right, so, and he won that fight and he stopped him as well. On the other hand, you have Mckinson, who hasn't fought any elite fighters yet. And I think that's the key thing here. When you look at his resume, there's no real names that stand out there. I think Chris Congo was probably one of the best fighters he's fought at this time, who was undefeated. But even him, it's just, I want to say Ortiz has probably fought at least 6 or 7 guys that probably has more experience than the best fighter, that Mckinson has faced at this point. All right, so there's definitely a gap in professional experience, and also power. I think the obvious thing here is power. This fight is more about how does Vergil Ortiz look against a slick southpaw, a very slick southpaw. I've seen Ortiz against punchers, guys that box well, guys that had, long, rangy fighters. I've seen him fight against a good amount of guys, but now he's fighting a good mover in Mckinson, guy that knows how to move, a guy that knows how to control the distance, a guy with a good jab, good hand speed, and, has a little slickness to him. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, how is he going to do against this type of fighter? And I've done some, my field study like I normally did. I never really got around to it like that in the first fight. I think I had started to do a little film study and just didn't get around to it. But, I've been doing some today. And I think it's pretty clear for me. It didn't take long for me to realize how this fight was going to go. Ortiz. Something in my eye. Ortiz, puncher, pressure fighter, right? Very aggressive, right? Has a lot of dog in him. When you see him fight, he has a lot of dog in him. He's coming at you, right? But he's not coming just at you recklessly. He comes in and he fights out of high guard 90% of the time. He's in that high guard, all right? So he's coming in, but it's an active high guard. He's moving his upper body. He's shifting side to side. He's trying to keep his head off the line. He's doing a lot of head movement. And as he's coming forward, he's feinting a lot. He's throwing a lot of jabs. He's throwing jabs to the body. He attacks the body well. And he's just being very active. All right. Smart pressure. Okay. Not reckless pressure, but smart. He's made some mistakes, obviously, in his last fight against Kavaliauskas. He got hurt, got caught with a clean uppercut. It happens. He got caught with a good shot. Didn't go down. Technically, didn't go down. He did go down, but technically, it was not a knockdown. It wasn't scored a knockdown. All right. Similar to Bud Crawford. I think Bud Crawford, maybe, if I can't remember, but I think he might have gotten hit with a similar shot. All right. He got caught with a shot. But outside of that, I haven't really seen him get hurt. I've seen him fight against punchers, and he's displayed a good chin. All right. But it's a lot. His game is deep. Good reflexes. And he has a good inside game as well. Great angles on the inside. Very good angles on the inside. And good balance. He pivots good. He knows how to keep his opponent right in front of him. Good counter puncher. Good hand speed. He is very versatile. He brings all the, everything that you would need to be a complete fighter. He has that. He's not very limited. I feel like when I watch Mckinson, it just really, right away, I felt that he was very limited compared to what Ortiz is bringing, because he can fight on the inside. He can fight, the outside, the inside, that mid-range, and doesn't have the greatest defense. And I'm talking about Vergil Ortiz. He doesn't have the greatest defense, but he doesn't have bad defense neither. I think with the amount of pressure that he brings in his style, I think his defense is pretty good based on the fact that he brings effective pressure, not reckless pressure. It's effective and it's smart, So when it comes to Mckinson, I believe that he's very limited. I don't think he can really do much on the inside like that. So I don't think it's smart for him to sit in the pocket with a guy like Vergil Ortiz. And even though he's good at controlling distance, he's not that powerful. Now, the thing about his power, because I know that's the key thing, power. You see a guy with 22 wins, he's undefeated, but he only has 2 KOs. The thing is, he doesn't have much power, but I think he hits hard enough, at least the fighters that I've seen him fight, he hits hard enough to where you don't want to just recklessly come in. You don't want to get hit. I mean, he's dropped guys, right? Especially early. So you don't want to just recklessly just go in there and just totally disregard his power. So I think he hits hard enough to keep guys away. The problem is he's like a Devin Haney, Devin Haney is going to outbox it. If he's winning rounds, he's not going to turn it up a different notch to try to stop you. He's not trying to commit to stopping you. He's committed to winning rounds. And there's a lot of fighters like that. For example, Floyd Mayweather, the great Floyd Mayweather. I've heard guys like Oscar De La Hoya who they don't even get along at all. But Oscar De La Hoya said himself, Floyd punches hard. I've heard it from him. I've heard it from Shane Mosley. I've heard it from other fighters that's been in there in the ring with Floyd. Floyd, as a welterweight, was never a KO artist. He just wasn't. But for whatever reason, he was such a good boxer, and without the KOs, he was able to still neutralize his opponents and make them not want to just recklessly engage with him. And I think that about Mckinson based on the people he's fought. The problem is there's a huge gap in the people that he's faced up to this point compared to Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz brings so much more to the table compared to everyone that Mckinson has faced. And I was listening to an interview because that dude, I do a lot of film study, but I also want to listen to the interview because I want to know how these fighters are thinking coming into this fight. And I listened to Mckinson. He said, listen, I don't have a lot of power, but, well, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. But he said when he was questioned about his lack of power or his lack of knockouts on his record, he would say, listen, I've been in there with guys that are bigger than Ortiz. I've been in there with guys that punch harder than Ortiz. He sparred well with the guys. And that's the key thing. Like, I get it. I understand. Like, you're sparring with guys, your preparation, you've been in there. Some of these guys go in there with heavyweights. I get it. But you're working on things when you're sparring. Sometimes it is a dogfight. We've seen it. But you're working on things when you're sparring. You're not going in there to kill each other for most of the time. So that is not the same experience. The experience with Vergil Ortiz. And not to say that he's dismissive of Ortiz and his power. That's not what I'm saying. He's saying that Ortiz, he's also said that Ortiz is going to bring the best out of him. Right? Because of how good he is, which is great. Because sometimes I feel that way about Bud and Spence. I think when they fight each other, I think they're actually going to bring the best out of each other. They're going to have no choice but to, right? But the major flaw with Mckinson in this fight, and this is more than any other flaw, and this is the worst, and this is the first thing that I noticed about this guy, is that his chin is way up in the air. He keeps his hands low. And he likes to ambush at times, all right? He likes to control distance. He likes to fight from the outside. He likes to use his jab, all right? And, he knows how to perfectly time that straight left hand. He's good at that, but he likes to ambush. He likes to step in very quickly at times. And when he does that, his chin is in the air almost all of the time. It's straight up in the air. And I noticed it right away. And not only did I notice it right away when I watched one of his most recent fights, but when I went back a couple fights even before that, I noticed that he's still doing it. I don't see improvements in it. So now when I go back in reverse and I'm realizing, okay, this is something that it was an issue that was never corrected. It's not like where I saw with Ryan Garcia recently in his most recent fight and him versus how he fought a few years ago. Not even a few years ago. Just last year when he fought Luke Campbell. I see him improving on his defense. We've always complained about his chin being, we know he stands straight up when he's fighting. But I noticed that now he's at least improving and keeping that chin from being completely exposed when he's on the attack. Mckinson, unfortunately, I can go as recent as his most last fight, his fight before that. His chin is totally exposed. And I think they seen that. And I think they realize because, they're really good at matchmaking over there on Golden Boy. Very, very good. Ortiz is the goods. He's legit. He's one of the best welterweights right now. Outside of the champs, he's one of the top contenders in the division. And Ortiz and his style is all wrong for Michael Mckinson. All wrong for him. Especially on the first really big step-up fight. Ortiz has been at this level or even better. He's fought more proven fighters already. Mckinson, on the other hand, is going in there who stylistically, against a guy stylistically, is not right for him. Because Ortiz, if you step in with a flurry like that, Ortiz got plenty of things that he can do to drop you, with that chin in the air. I can see, and this is the way the fight, I can see the fight going, but this is how I think it's going to go. I think the first earlier rounds, Ortiz is going to be feeling, I think the guys are going to fill each other out. I think Mckinson's going to have some good success with the jab, getting that jab through the guard, getting some of those left hands through the guard or around the guard. Okay, but there's going to be a point where I think Mckinson might catch a jab just stepping in and get dropped, a flash knockdown, because his chin is going to be exposed. He's going to catch. I can see him getting dropped with a jab just because the way he steps in is so fast. I see Ortiz timing him with a jab and dropping him with a jab. I can see Ortiz catching him, taking a step back, getting that right hand up, keeping that right hand up, and catching him with a check left hook. Or throwing a right cross right down the pipe as he's stepping in and knocking him out. It's going to be similar to when Wilder knocked out Arthur Spoka. Same thing. Lunging in, coming in when your chin up in the air and getting caught with a big right cross and going to sleep. I'm looking at these two, and I said Vergil Ortiz is going to catch him and knock him out. I think Ortiz can beat him on points. I don't think it's going to go that far, but whatever Mckinson has, again, he's slick. He's good at controlling distance. Can you control a guy like Vergil Ortiz for 12 whole rounds? I don't believe so. I just don't see it. And honestly, I believe that even though Mckinson is a good fighter and is one of the better fighters on his resume, I think Velasquez had way much more to offer stylistically than Mckinson does in this fight. Maybe even Maurice Hooker. I just think those guys just had a little bit more to offer stylistically than Mckinson. Mckinson is very tricky. I understand that he's a southpaw. I know that Ortiz don't have a lot of them, or don't have a lot of experience in fighting them professionally. But Mckinson and his style and his flaws and his limitations of not really being able to fight in the pocket that well, I think with all of those things, I see Vergil Ortiz getting a knockout, and I think it's going to be as early as the 5th round. I don't really see it going that much further than that. I'm thinking 5th round stoppage. All right. Ortiz is just proven to be too good, and see some in his interviews. He seems to be really bothered with the media. A lot of things that was said about him when the fight was canceled earlier this year. I think he's coming out to make a statement. He's already gotten 18 knockouts. He's wanted to make a statement with every fight. But in this fight here, seems like the energy is a little different. And I think he wants to go in there and really make a statement and dominate Mckinson. And I think that's going to happen in this fight. I think it's going to be a 5th round stoppage by KO. And that'll be that. All right. So, again, the fight is going to be this Saturday on DAZN at 9 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Eastern, main ring walkout. And I'll definitely be doing a post-fight review, and it has a pretty good undercard. You got Melakuziev on the undercard. You got Blair Cobbs and Maurice Hooker on the undercard. I forgot who else is on there. Anyway, there's some good fights on there. I think the female fight is a good fight. I think that's it. So anyway, 5th round stoppage by Vergil Ortiz. I think he's gonna dominate after a couple rounds. By the 3rd round, I think he's gonna start heating up. All right. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and share the video as well. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.